Hi, everyone. I have a guest with me today. As you can see, her name is Lisa, and she was in Amway for 30 years. She left a comment on one of my videos on YouTube, and I had said, if you're ready to tell your story, or if you ever want to, here's my email. And she reached out, and now here we are. So, Lisa, it's all yours. Please introduce yourself and just tell us your story.
Thanks, Julie. Just wow. Thanks so much for what you do. Like we were saying before you started here, when I decided, my husband and I'd say I decided first to leave the business. I've been feeling that way for a really long time. But when I started to do that, I started to do what Worldwide teaches you never to do. Worldwide was the LOA I was a part of, Worldwide Group, the line of affiliation I was a part of. I know Amway networks a lot of them, but I was with Worldwide. Anyway, what they tell you not to ever do is to go on to the internet and start researching and looking for information. And for most of the years I was in the business, I never did that. There was a few times I got curious and I was like, what are they talking about? And I'd see crap on the wall, and it was like, but they always had an excuse. They always had a rationalization for what that meant or what that was, or, don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about, kind of thing. So anyway, I don't want to get too far into that, but that is what brought me to ultimately finding you and finding a few other people, because I started to dig and I started to really go like, I'm going to find out the things I'm feeling, and I have been feeling for a really long time. What part of this is true? What part of this, am I being negative? Because we were always taught you're negative if you don't want to build a business. You're the problem. And I realized, no, we're not the problem. They're the problem. So kind of where it started was 30 years ago, my husband and I got married back in 1996. We got married. He was already in the business. We met in 95. This was way before Amway was even on the internet, mind you. This was before Quickstar. I'm sure you've heard of Quickstar. With all the research you do, you probably know more than I do. But we're old school. We're back where you did, you exchanged products out of your garage or a little home office, where there was no internet. So that's where we started. And back then, it was fun. It was awesome. And I have to honestly say, this is part of my story, is that I realized that when your mental health is really not in a good place, and I'm not saying I have mental illness, it's not that, but I had a lot of broken places of my life that had never been resolved. I came from a mom who had, most people are shocked when they hear this, but my mother was married while I was growing up 14 different times. And multiple marriages I was drugged through in homes and schools and towns. Every time she'd get divorced, we'd move. Lots of secrets in my family, lots of crazy dysfunctional stuff, and it really never got resolved. And even though I left when I was a teenager, I left my home at the time, which where my mother was when I was 18. You just stuff this stuff down and you go on with life. And when I met my husband and he introduced me to the business, I really truly felt like this is the family I never had. They're very, very good at love bombing you, manipulating you, making you think that you are family. And I just, in my mind, I was like, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. I have a family now, and they just believe in you and all this stuff. And looking back now, I realize I was attracted to that when it really wasn't genuine, but I thought it was. And I really thought it was for 30 years. I really, really did. I thought that they meant what they said to us. And so, anyway, my husband and I got married, and we started to build the business. We built the business to some success. We were doing pretty well. And back then, things were a lot more affordable. We didn't have these apps. We didn't have all of these things that came into play as the years went on. It's like I kept feeling like this is a racket. Like they are, I think we're a tool in the cogwheel here, because I'm seeing over time, all of these people in our uplines business really never move on. And if they do, it's incremental little move-ons and then back to square one, because people quit, and you're constantly in this cycle of recruit, people quit, recruit. And so you're taught to, that's what you do. You just get very used to prospecting people, recruiting people, replacing people. And we did that for a really long time. and held our business together for a while and had some success, but we never made more than we spent. Never. So, I mean, it's hard for me to wrap everything. It's hard for me to, what am I trying to say? Hone it in, because there's so much. Maybe asking questions might help me to if you have any questions for me. But I mean, honestly, I'm just here because I feel like this business attracts really vulnerable people. I mean, it attracts everybody, but I think it really attracts vulnerable people that are looking for what they offer, but it's a fake world. It's not, it's, oh, your cat's so cute. I love it. I love cats. But it's not a real world, you know? And so I think, so basically we built the business for the first probably 20 years. And we saw our whole uplines business completely fall apart. There was a scam that came through Washington State at the time, back in the early 2000s. And this investment opportunity came through the business. I'll keep it brief, but this was pretty major. So this big investment opportunity came through Washington State. I live in the Pacific Northwest. And everybody was investing in this. We were told, hey, they're going to have an initial public offering and invest in this. It was this big investment opportunity with this guy who was creating what he was calling a health maintenance center. And it was going to be chiropractors, doctor care, massages, facials, everything you could get in like one facility. And so we were all like, wow, and like platinums and rubies and diamonds and emeralds, and everybody was investing in this, and it was creating a lot of negative problems within Worldwide. Okay, so my upline, our upline, who were diamonds at the time, we had platinums between us that we were working with. Our platinums came to us and said, hey, do you guys want to invest? I think this is going to be an awesome way to make some money. Okay, sure, we will. I mean, I'm giving you the short version, but you get the point. It was an investment that went really wrong. So what happened was there was a whole bunch of infighting between our diamond 6 platinum legs, and they all quit. Every one of them quit because this investment went tits up. It was a scam. We found out, we all lost our money, and our upline lost their entire business. We were only 2 people standing of one scraggly little leg they had left. So they went from diamond to nothing, like overnight. So when that happened, my husband and I, we felt like, okay, you know, you have this loyalty thing towards your upline. They always teach you about the partnership and stay loyal to the partnership. You know, you're just programmed to do this for such a long time. So we did. We stayed in, we stayed loyal to them, all these different things. But I started to notice after some time, like they teach it's a 2 to 5 year plan to go diamond, basically. In 2 to 5 years, if you do these things and go to these functions and listen to these CDs and buy this app and do this app and all this stuff, which all costs money, by the way, every single month, do your first circle, stay core. Core is what they called it. You'll get there in 2 to 5 years. So we watched our upline go from, you know, this investment opportunity to nothing. Tell us that they were going to be back in diamond qualification in the next, 18 months. Well, it's now 2025 and they are still not even close to that. They did manage to make it back to emerald. I'll give them that. But here's another thing I noticed. The level of work that they do to try to maintain what they call freedom is insane. The traveling, the money, the board plans, the functions, the audios you have to listen to. I mean, it is a world of absolute, you are completely encapsulated into this, as you know, this world. And I just really began to see it, especially when COVID hit. So fast forward to COVID, all this is going on for quite some time. COVID came, and I think Worldwide completely lost their shorts. They did not know what to do, because what's the worst thing that can happen in the Amway business? Don't get to a major function, right? Like, that's what they want. They want you to gather. They want to hype you up. They want to keep you excited and keep you motivated. So all of that ended during COVID, and they went on to Zoom meetings. But what really pissed me off was I was like, they're charging $200 and some per person so we could get on Zoom and talk like you and I are right now. And the upline crown, I won't use names, but the crown of Worldwide, and if you're in Worldwide, you know who he is. He got onto our communicate system, our voicemail system, and said, look, now I know you could buy just one ticket because you're actually at home watching this on a screen, you and your husband, but we're going to expect you to buy 2 tickets. Per person, you need to each buy a ticket, and we want you to have integrity to do that. And I looked at my husband and I went, oh, so they want us to have integrity because they don't. So I started seeing, like, why are they charging over $200 a person during a pandemic when people are lost their jobs? There's all kinds of chaos, as we all remember. And you're going to charge people a couple, practically $500 to watch you on a screen. And all these things started piecing together, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done with this stuff. I'm done. And then I started investigating the tool scam, basically, of how these people are actually making their money. So they tell you it's the Amway business, but it's really not. It's really these functions, these CDs they used to. Now it's audio and digital. It's all digital now through apps. But it's the meetings. It's all this stuff they have you buy into, which is hundreds of dollars a month. And we began to find out that platinums and above in Worldwide Group make a percentage off of every single IBO that's in their business. But here's the horrible thing, Julie. That's never disclosed to you. I went to 30 years of meetings and board plans, house plans, major plans, hotel plans. I mean, global crap here, right? And we were never told one time, oh, by the way, when you go ahead and build it to this level, you're going to start to make some money, a profit sharing situation with Worldwide. Why didn't they disclose that? I don't care if you want to make money doing that, but you should tell people. You should not lead us to believe that all the money that's being made is through moving products to the Amway business, when that is not it at all. You are all getting rich off of the system. And that's why you want us brainwashed into the system, right? I mean, so all this really began to come together for me after COVID, really. And then we hung on for a little while because honestly, I feel really bad for my husband because he's one of those very positive, loyal type of people. And I just never thought, I was like, he's never going to quit. I'm never going to get him to see what I see. I'm never going to get him to see what I found out. But little by little, I started to talk to him and he was starting to see some things. And then I think the clincher was our upline diamonds, or not, they're emeralds now. They were diamonds, the ones I'm talking about. I have nothing against Mormons. I'll just say that right now, but they're Mormon. Okay. I'm not trying to say anything's wrong with being Mormon, but I'm just trying to say she used faith manipulation and had missionaries come to my door and try to get me to become a Mormon because she found out that I grew up Mormon. So, yeah. So that really pissed me off because I was having a conversation with her one time in a car, just spending some time with them, and had shared with her that, I had grown up Mormon for the first 14 years of my life, and that I personally left and told my mom, I'm never coming back to this church. It's freaking weird. I'm out of here. And so when she found that out, though, instead of asking me how I would feel about having missionaries come to my door, she gave them my address, my phone number, everything. And now I've got relentless Mormons coming after me because of this. So anyway, I'm giving you a lot of stuff, a lot of information. I'm just kind of rambling it off here, but
you're not rambling. It's making sense. It's not, when we're in one of these high control groups, a multi-level marketing pyramid scheme, and you're in the mothership of them all, there's this distorted belief that what we're talking about must not make any sense but it's making sense. You're highlighting events that occurred that really stood out to you. And so many of us immediately understand that. People that have been in MLM, people who are like spectators kind of thing, they've been affected by MLM, they recognize this too. So, just when you were describing that scam that went through Washington State, where they're invest in this thing, it's like it undermined their credibility. Like a lot of people left because of that. It's like one of those big things, like these red flags that kind of started that wedge to like crack open the truth, And so then when you're describing another incident where it's like, as you're talking, it's not going to come out in chronological order. It can, but it can kind of seem like, well, I'm all over the place, but you're not, because that's how it works. We all relate to this. So I just kind of want to validate that this is normal. So when you're describing this, your upline that knows that you grew up Mormon and said, I don't ever want anything to do with this, and then like sends the troops out after you to try to recruit you into this religion on behalf of Amway. Who knows if these people that were, that are Mormon even know that they're being utilized in this way. It's shady as fuck. It's deplorable. So I just want to emphasize that how you're describing this, it makes sense. And so please continue. You're not rambling. It's these instances that as you start talking about them, they brought up like, I'm in something that's shady. This is a racket. Something isn't right here. So, you're talking about how your husband is so positive and thinking, oh, he's going to be so loyal. How is he going to get out of this? Am I going to be able to get through to him?
Yeah, thank you, Julie. That helps me a little bit. It's hard to, I guess the more I tell my story, I'll get more comfortable with it. But it's hard to get 30 years into a small amount of time. And now that you say that is so weird, because as you were saying that about the Mormon thing, I realized, yeah, their entire business is Mormon except for us and a couple other couples. Okay. They've got this emerald business. Every one of their platinum legs is Mormon. And no wonder she wanted to send the troops over, because they want to convert us so that their entire business will be Mormon. Because, again, go ahead and be Mormon. That's up to you. But the fact of the matter is, these people do have beliefs that are structured on, we're going to be gods. We're going to have gods of our own. We're going to be gods of our own planet one day. They don't think the same way that me, a typical, I'm just a generic Christian. Okay. I just love Jesus. I'm just a generic Christian. I don't have a bunch of religious crap to throw on people. I'm just living my life, loving the Lord. That's the way I roll. So, but you're right about what you just said. That really fascinates me now to think about it. I remember telling my husband, like, why is their entire business Mormon? And they would invite us to these church events and all of these things to try to convert us. So this was part of the problem. And the upline that quit between us with that whole investment situation, they were our very dear friends. I mean, and when they left, I think it's like you said, they felt shame. They felt all these things that people the whole thing exploded and everybody just left. And we were like left in the ashes kind of a thing. And we hung in there for a really, really long time. But, and when you go to these functions, you also watch these big major functions. I'm talking the ones that are at the Tacoma Dome or the Max Center in Las Vegas, big conventions, okay? They always had a church service on Sundays, and they would use that to manipulate people. And they'd sit and give you all the whole spiel. And then at the end, after they'd have their altar call and all this stuff. And I'm not saying that stuff's wrong. It's just the way that they did it. It was just sketchy, because as soon as they're done with all of that, you go back to your seats, and then it's, can you sit for another 15 minutes and please watch this video, and here comes the buckets. Because we want to have worldwide support. John Maxwell, all this different stuff that we saw. I could name a lot of names. I'm being careful. I don't want to do too much crap with that. But John Maxwell, anybody can look that up. He's worked with Worldwide for 15 years.
John Maxwell has worked with every MLM, I think, under the sun. He is like a wart on the butt of the pig that is MLM. He was with Mon8 too. And I remember...
really?
Oh, yeah. And I remember, I didn't even realize this. I was so like naive and just ignorant. And I'm like, just wowed. It's like John Maxwell, because you know what it's like? He has this persona. And then he had announced, like, he is doing an exclusive contract only working with Mon8 next year. Well, I come to find out years later, this guy, he does this with every MLM. It's like every year, it's like, oh, he's announced this exclusive thing with Herbalife. He's announced this exclusive thing. He's just this old guy that just does the circuit. And we're all like, whoa, this is amazing. The 21 laws of leadership and the law of the lid. And oh, it's all just nonsense.
You know what? That makes me so mad because I can't even tell you how many times we've said in these functions for years, decades, you are so blessed to have John Maxwell here. He is Worldwide is the only group that he exclusively works with. Oh, and get this. So you go to the function, you're paying $200 a person just to get in the door. I mean, it varied in price over the years. Sometimes it was less, sometimes it was more. Probably pretty dependent on the level or the number of people they had paying into it. Up the price if we need money, down the price if we're doing good. I don't know, but I just saw over 30 years. I mean, I have a unique visualization of all this because I was in for so long. I was back in the day when functions were $5, all the way to the point where they were hundreds of dollars a person. And here's the thing though. Okay, so let's say you're paying $200 to get into a function. Then up, you know, in the convention halls or whatever the heck they're called, you know what I mean, in an auditorium, they've got the John Maxwell or whoever speaking tables where you're going to buy their books and you're going to buy their this and you're going to buy their that. Then you turn around and come home and Worldwide's telling you over their communicate system or all the different ways they communicate with IBOs. Now you need to go ahead and buy his book now through Worldwide, and you need to go ahead and subscribe to that standing order audio that he just put out, which he just listened to, by the way, at the function. But we want you to go ahead and have that in your arsenal so you can share it with new people. So you see what I'm saying? You see the racket? It's just this circle of internal money that after a while, you're stupid if you don't start to see it. And I feel stupid I stayed as long as I did. And I truly did it for my husband because my husband's just one of these people, bless his heart. He was a college level athlete. He's an amazing person. He really, really is. And he's just not a quitter. And they make men to believe in the business that if you quit, you're a loser. You know, winners never quit and quitters never win. And that just wasn't going to be him. And so I hung on as long as I could. But after COVID, again, watching some of this and watching how everything was falling apart. And when the function started going live again after COVID, we went to a function and I noticed there isn't even 200 people in this room now. That used to be thousands. So I was like, something's going on. This thing's falling apart at the seams. And we watched the diamonds in Worldwide, the leadership, just doing some stuff that was just sketchy again, like trying to make money. And I wasn't okay with it. I just wasn't okay with it anymore. I finally was at the point where I was like, you know what, it's time to go. So made that decision in June, and there's so much in between. I mean, ask me any question that you want, but I always used to think, I always thought, well, Amway's not the problem. They just network, they just sell products. They're just a company that sells products, makes products, been around since the 60s. They're okay. And I suppose maybe in some ways they are. I don't really know. I'm still learning. But what bothers me is, wait a second, you lose all credibility though when you allow yourself to network with these tool systems. And I got online before I actually ended my IBO-ship, and I noticed there's a section in the Amway website. I can't see it now because I'm no longer an IBO, but I looked at all this before I quit. There was probably 30 different, like in a drop-down menu, you choose your LOA that you work with, and you can agree to share personal information. They started doing this thing where you could share personal information with your LOA. So Worldwide and Amway were teaming up, sharing our personal information amongst themselves. Our everything, how much we ran through our business, how much this, how much that. So I went, okay. Now Amway, this company that maybe had the potential to have some integrity here, you lost it because you're allowing yourself to network with these tool scams, knowing what they do. And I'm sure you know this, but in the UK, they don't even have tools anymore. It's illegal now. They fought it there, and they got rid of it. So you can build the Amway business, but you cannot be part of a tool system there. So anyway, what's your thoughts on all that?
So did you sign up with your husband? Was it under one IBO account?
When I met him, he was already building the business and already had probably about 15 people downline from him. He was actually crossing stage when we met. Our first date was a function. Yeah. It's actually really funny. In fact, we met through a personal ad. And now that I look back on that, I thank God that we clicked and we really do love each other. But his upline told him, go get a wife. Go find a wife, because I'm sure you know this, but Amway's very couple-centered, very couples-oriented. I mean, you'll see some singles, but it's not the norm. They want couples building the business.
So you answered an ad in a newspaper? Is that what happened?
Yeah, back in the day. That was way before the internet.
This is so cute. This is so cute.
So we met through a personal ad, and we met, and yeah, again, before the internet. That was in 1995. And we started dating, and he tells me, well, I want to take you to this really cool meeting. And I'm like, okay. I didn't know what it was, but he's like, I'm going to be wearing a suit. You put on a really nice dress, and we're going to go to this meeting. I'm like, okay. So I show up, and they're showing the Amway plan. I'm like, what's the Amway? I don't even know what the heck's going on, right? But I got excited again because of the love bombing, because they were the sweetest people. And I really think that there's a lot of good people in the business. But it's the upline big pins, kingpins as they call them, whatever, that I see really use you and manipulate you. And I figured out, they keep you in for as long as they can to make money on you as long as they can, because they know they're going to have to replace you. This business is a cycle of quit and recruit. It will never end. We did it ourselves. We had nobody left in our business by the time we finally said we're done. And we had hundreds over the years. It's like, why don't they stay? And I told my husband, there's something we're not seeing that other people are seeing here. It's time we wake up. So.
How did your husband wake up? Because it sounds like you kind of came to these realizations before he did.
Oh, yeah. Julie, honestly, I don't think he's still completely there.
None of us are. After being involved in these things, it's still like, what the hell is this about? Like, it takes time, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, and we're only, a couple months out here of actually not being IBOs any longer. But I just went to him one day back in June, and so here's kind of how it really started. Was Worldwide has a communication system called Communicate. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's part of. So they have different apps that you subscribe to every month as a business owner to run your business. Mind you, this all used to be voluntary back in the day when we began. You didn't have to have any of this, but they narrowed the IBOs into like a corral so well over the years to where you can't run your business without it. And then there's charges every month for this, right? So every month you're being charged hundreds of dollars to be on a Communicate system. It's a voicemail system, to be able to have access to your audio or even see the schedule where your upline's showing the plan, so to speak. And all of this used to be free, all of it. So anyway, you get what I'm saying. So what happened was Worldwide got rid of one of their Communicate systems and developed their own. So everything's like in-house now. And I told Marlon, my husband, I said, I'm not going to subscribe to this. We're not going to do it. So I sent our upline a message and said, we have decided to step down. They wanted to have a chat with us, a Zoom meeting. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it because I know it's going to happen. There's nothing we can say that they're going to understand. It's not going to go well. And I know my husband simply could not handle it. He just can't. He can't handle that conversation right now. So I just took the hit. So I texted our upline and said, this is what we're going to do. And I was very kind and loving to them. I said, thank you for 30 years of your friendship. We wish you guys the best, basically. His response to me within about 5 minutes was, this can't be Lisa. You're an imposter. Who's really sending me this message? Yeah. I was I'm like, after 30 years, I'm an imposter. Now I'm an imposter. Well, it's just like all of you guys out there that are doing these podcasts talk about. They're not who you think they are. And as soon as you decide to quit, you're going to find that out. And I did. So I went straight to my husband basically and said, hey, this is what happened. And look at this text. And he was like, what? He called you an imposter? He didn't even say, love you guys, good luck. I mean, these were friends, dear friends that we were in the trenches with. Okay. And so that was the beginning of him waking up and seeing, and I said, they're not who you think they are. And I began to show him some statistics. I began to show him some facts. I began to have him listen to some things, little bits that he could handle, to now where he's at the point where he's like, yeah, I see some stuff. And he's still getting there. I'm way ahead of him, but we're getting there. And I'm just pleased, honestly, that he's going along with that we're not IBOs, because I never thought I would ever get him to quit. I'm shocked, actually, Julie. I really am.
You know, his being coachable in a multi-level marketing company and
Yeah.
being coachable in Amway, that the hooks into him where you're never going to give up. And then it's linked to like masculinity, my
Yes.
identity as a good provider, a good man. Those are like, there's such powerful chains to chain you to something. They take the good parts of you and they use that to fashion the chain to like link you with Amway for life. You know how hard it is for somebody like your husband's kind of character, where there's that, I was an athlete, I'm going to keep showing up, I know what it is to have grit, determination, that I'll keep grinding it out day after day, week after week, year after year, because I might not see anything, I might plateau, I might slip backwards, but eventually I see the gains. And they link it to that on purpose. And it takes a lot to to crack through to that, to see that they've used that against you. So it's even, that's dangerous. The affinity fraud going on top of this with the religious manipulation like Christianity, and also it sounds like Mormonism. That's also, once they get it to your identity, it makes it so much more difficult to try to kind of see what's going on, because you start questioning yourself. You think, well, this is but who I am. And they need you to think that in order to hide what they're doing. They didn't realize they were messing with such a force of nature with you. Like, it's quite staggering to see you just talk about this. It's only been a few months, really a couple months. Congratulations on getting out.
Yeah, it's hard to explain everything you just said. It's hard to explain the depth of the control that all this has over a person over a long period of time. I mean, these people, we are trained to look sharp. We are trained to put your suit on. You know, you got teeth that need to be fixed, go fix them. Look sharp when you're out there so that you can prospect people, so that you can attract people to you. That's what this whole thing's about, is getting people in your business. These guys don't go diamond without people underneath them. And so for years, that's what we were taught. And these people appeared to be the most professional people you could ever imagine. We never questioned it. We were like, these people are awesome. They're sharp. They're family oriented. They're all these things. But you're absolutely right. They really attack the men. It's like the masculinity aspect of it. And when you're an achiever like my husband already is, and he already was a college level athlete and all this different stuff. I mean, he quit. He was going to be drafted to a team in Canada back in college, and he quit to build the Amway business because they sold him that line of shit. And he believed it. And my heart hurts for him. My heart hurts for everybody that got duped by this crap. And I realize we can't shut Amway down. They're too big. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. But I feel like, well, we can do this. We can tell our stories. And hopefully people will be out looking at this stuff and seeing this stuff, so that when someone approaches you at Walmart, you'll be like, oh, I know what this is. I heard they're prospecting me. And people will have the knowledge to run, because I hope somebody prospects me again, because they're going to get an earful. I'm like waiting for it. So
God help the person that tries. It'll happen too. You know, I wanted to mention this too to anybody that might be watching this that is in Amway or on their way exit journey out of this thing, or they're just healing, is that those strengths that were used against you. Your strengths can be your vulnerability. That's the thing that's so messed up about these high control groups, about multi-level marketing companies.
Yeah.
Those are still your strengths, and you can take those back. Those, like, you know, being coachable, not giving up, seeing things through to the end, you know, sacrificing yourself for the better, like seeing yourself as part of something. It's a wound, but it will heal. And those same things that they used against you are the same things that are going to like heal over. It's like a bone, it breaks and it knits stronger than ever before. So just please give yourself time and know that you're not alone. So many of us have had this happen. And look at, we're able to talk about this now. 15 years ago, everybody would have been sued. There was nobody, everybody's too afraid to speak out. Now it's like a tsunami. And like you said, you might not be able to, like, you know, take down a company, but what you can do is you can stop purchasing the products. You have more and more people come and speak out, and it just keeps eating away at their bottom line. MLM after MLM is shutting down. People are, you know, there was an interview, there was a debate with YouTuber Always Marco with this guy that was defending multi-level marketing. And it was very interesting because he actually named the anti-MLM movement as a factor in people leaving multi-level marketing companies. And so that was never even mentioned before, because if you acknowledge that, that's kind of like, I mean, that's taboo, but they are forced to acknowledge it. Even people that are out of it, you know, working in corporate or, you know, talking about with other multi-level marketing CEOs, they have to acknowledge it. So you actually have a lot more power than you think. These things they have a lot of money. They need to appear even bigger than they are, but it doesn't take much. Like you saw through it. And when you called it out, they're like, who is this? This is an imposter. Like, is this a joke? It's really that easy. Like, this is all just nothing. It's devastating because 30 years is a long time. It's devastating when you realize that, but you will heal, you know. People do heal and you do get stronger from it. Doesn't make it right, but you will move on, you know. And I just want to kind of say that to other people who are watching this, because this can be just completely earth shattering. So now, as you're starting to, you know, you're piecing these things together, you sent this final message to your upline, and then they say this, you're like starting to speak out. You've been on, you know, have you had pushback? And if you have, what does that look like, if you'd like to share that?
I haven't yet, but I blocked all their numbers off our phones, and I just went into my husband's phone a week ago, and I'm like, you know, you do this in stages. It's like time to block, because here's the thing though, even after he called me an imposter, they were sending us pictures from the latest incentive that they went to at the Big Crown's place, and we love you, miss you guys. And I was like, this is sick. You called me an imposter 2 weeks ago. Now you're telling me you love us and miss us? Sure you do. We were real loyal to you. We spent a lot of money. And I said, no, time to block. So yeah, now I blocked the number. So I haven't had any pushback. I've been careful not to use names too much, actual names. But yeah, I mean, I want to, my goal would be, Julie, to, like, anybody that's trying, you know, looking at this business, listen to someone who's been in it for 30 years, and maybe I can save somebody some time. I mean, I lost my whole youth to this thing.
Oh, you're going to be helping a lot of people with this.
Sorry. I lost my whole youth to this thing. And I just feel like if somebody's currently in it trying to get out, do it. You just have to make the leap. So sorry. Because you realize once you get out, you start to realize everything that, by the way, I was feeling off for a really long time. There's a reason why you're feeling off for a really long time. And I didn't really pay attention, because they're so good at telling you, well, you're the problem. You're just being negative. You're losing your dream. You need to get a bigger dream. Come on. You're a dream stealer if you feel like this business doesn't work. All this bullshit, right? It's like, they're really masterfully good at manipulating you to think you're the problem if you don't think like they think. I mean, so much to the point where you can have your upline come into your home and show a board plan. And if they walk in your bathroom and see products that aren't Amway, they'll literally take them out and dump them in a trash can in front of everybody. I saw this stuff. It's like, I'm a grown adult. I should be able to buy whatever the heck I want. But no. Because what they'll say to you is, well, if you owned a Chevy dealership, you wouldn't buy a Ford. You know, and this is the stuff they do. And it makes just enough sense, right? Where you're like, well, yeah, I mean, that does make sense. We own a business. Why would we use, you know, some other product, GNC vitamins, when we can use Neutralite vitamins? It doesn't, I get that. But it's the way that it's manipulated to the point, the gaslighting, all this different stuff. And it takes a real toll on your mental health. And you don't realize how subtle it is until you get out. So I just feel like, yeah, if there's anybody out there that's in this situation and going, how do I get out of it? You just got to do it. You just got to shut down your apps. You got to cancel your stuff, and you got to leave. There is no easy way to do this. And by the way, there is no easy little conversation you're going to have with your upline where they're going to understand, because they're not. I've had so many conversations with people that have left, and every one of them did not go well. It wasn't like any upline's ever going to say to you, well, we understand. They're not going to say it. So it's like, put the loyalty back on yourself instead of them. They don't deserve it. They really don't, because you're just a tool in the system to make money. And it's really sad. It really is. It's really sad that these companies do this. I'm sure you know who Roberta Blevins is. She's going to have me on her show. Yeah, she's going to have me on her show next month. I know you were on her show too, I think, right?
Oh, yeah. I've been on her show a few times. Yeah.
I know. And sorry, I get confused because I've heard so many things, but she wanted to have me on too. She's like, 30 years, man. I've never met anybody that had the balls to even talk about it after 30 years. But that's why I'm doing this, because I think there's a lot of me's out there, but they just don't want to talk about it. You know?
You're right. There are, and the shame holds people back. And the more that we can just have be conversational, casual about it, it takes that mystique, that overwhelming, like the power, like I've been on stage and I'm a millionaire and you're just a loser and you are so negative in your dreams. It's like you pop the balloon when you can just talk about it. And it makes people realize it was like, oh my God, it was an illusion. I can actually move on from this. This isn't something that I'm like, there's something that I'm feeling so bad about. I'm so negative. There's something wrong. It's like, that's meant to keep me here. Just talking about this is like the best antidote. That's what I think.
Yeah. And you know, when you go to these, like the big Crown and Worldwide, again, if you're in Worldwide, and all you got to do is look them up. There's only one. But that couple, when you would see them speak, he was so good at kicking your ass that jobs suck. Nothing you can ever accomplish in a job will equal this. You know, he'll just beat you up for 2 hours on stage, but he had a way of doing it. And now I can look back, I'm like, this guy was a master at completely kicking your ass about actual goals and things that people actually really want to accomplish in life if it doesn't line up with the Amway plan. I mean, this affected us financially, emotionally, physically. I mean, there were times we were driving to meetings because it was like, you could sleep when you're dead. You need to get in the car and you need to get to the meeting. We were driving the miles sometimes. It's like, and they applaud you for that. Yeah, you're driving the miles. You're miles after midnight, they called it. Some of this stuff wasn't even safe, Julie, but you're applauded. And these uplines, sorry, I'm yelling.
Well, that's okay. Yell away. You don't need to apologize here. We yell here a lot.
I'm just like, okay, calm down, Lisa. But yeah, I mean, you just got to vent it out, right? But these, I forgot what I was going to say.
Miles after midnight. And these people, you're applauded for doing things that are not even natural for your body to do. You know, when you've been at a function, and here's the thing, speaker after speaker after speaker, I'm talking hours of talks,
at these conventions that are the exact same talk. And you know what's interesting? They never actually teach you how to build the Amway business. It's just motivational bullshit. And pretty soon you're sitting there and your legs are swollen, your ankles are swollen, and you're like, this is ridiculous. And it would get to the point where I told my husband, I'm like, I'm going back to the hotel room. I'll pick you up when it's over, because I was so over it. Like, if I hear one more motivational talk, my head's going to explode. But no, the next one will be the one that will connect with you and you'll really get it. So here's the thing. They don't sell a business. They sell motivation. And they sell dopamine hits. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like they do it every 3 months. They're so smart. Every 3 months, we're going to go to one of these big events again that cost hundreds of dollars, mind you. And then they turn around and sell the same stuff on the app later so you can listen to it again. And you know, I'm ashamed. I guess I shouldn't say ashamed, because I've talked to other people, and I was a victim of this situation, of this system. I, again, go back to the mental health thing. I really think that people have to look at their mental health, because when this kind of stuff comes down your way, if you're in a vulnerable place in your life and you need some extra money, or you're going through a divorce, or you have a bad family situation like I did, and they come along, and these people will make you feel like these are like little mini gods, for Pete's sake. That's how they're worshipped. They're just their adoration of these upline is off the charts. And I know you know that. But now that I'm out of it, I can just really see how really sick it was, and how the broken places in my life, not working on them and fixing them, contributed to me being a part of this for such a long time.
It's like a predator seeing prey. It's
yes.
like, ooh, this is somebody that is perfectly primed for me to feast on them and bring you in. We're going to give you all this love. And you're like, this is the family that I never even knew I had wanted.
Yes.
And here I am. And that's what they do. And that's when, you know, knowing that if we have a vulnerability, what does that even look like? Are we even in the frame of mind to know that we're vulnerable to be targeted?
Yeah.
If you don't know these things exist, why would you? You know, you didn't know. You're like, oh, this is great. I'm going to go on a date. And it's like, what is this presentation? Well, this is really great. Why would you? Like you had no chance. It was like walking into like a trap in the woods. It just snapped. Like there was no chance for you, you know? And there was no chance for many of us, because people weren't speaking about it. They weren't pointing out, look at, this is what I experienced. And as you're talking, we have the same crap in every MLM, going to these large group awareness trainings. Ours wasn't every 3 months, but it depends on what multi-level marketing company you're with. But it's the same thing. It's just motivational nonsense, blabber. We all say the same things. John Maxwell, I'm going to say something that's probably going to make your skin crawl. If you remember,
go ahead. I need to learn all I can.
John, and I'm your friend.
Oh my God, I heard that a gazillion times. Oh Lord, you see, this is the stuff they do. God, they're charlatans. They're the best at it. It reminds me of Jim and Tammy Faye Baker.
Exactly.
Remember them back in the day?
Yeah, cheap charlatans. Just, it's so obvious when you're out. And you know, I wanted to mention this too, where you know you kind of like corrected yourself of, I feel ashamed, but it's okay to feel like shame, you know. But it's also like, as you pointed out, like I was a victim of this. It's not to allow that shame that was used to control us when we're in a multi-level marketing company, to keep us down, you know, because recovering from this, it can be like up and down. You start, you know, this is something that I find just bananas. I'll be listening to like a podcast, has nothing to do with multi-level marketing. And it has nothing to do with any kind of scammery nonsense, but they'll say some quip that's a lot like what we heard in multi-level marketing. And I just want to like punch something, right? This is bullshit, you know? And it's got the truth. I mean, it's a true statement, but it's so tainted from the years that I listened to this and I applied it and I made it make sense, thinking that I'm coachable too. And I'm going to recruit a bunch of people that are just like me. I've got to work on myself, because the reason why my business isn't growing is because you don't attract who you want, you attract who you are. So therefore I need to keep listening to this same crap over and over and over again until I hear it the right way and it unlocks that thing. And then I suddenly realize it. And then I've entered the world into financial abundance.
It's so true. And that's exactly what they pump. and they teach you it's a numbers game. You just haven't talked to enough people yet. You need to change this because you need to talk to the right people. We even had our Mormon coaches tell us you need to go prospect Mormons because Mormons get in this business. And I'm like, well, that makes sense why there's more MLMs in Utah than there isn't anywhere on the planet. You know, it's so true, everything that you're saying. And it's just, thanks for saying that. I mean, I think feeling some shame is healthy. It's a good thing because it's going to keep you from repeating it, you know, but I'm not going to stay stuck there because I realize that, you know, I've just been asking God, what do you want me to learn from this? Because I know you want me to learn something, and I'm going to speak out and I'm going to try to help where I can. I'm going to try to help anybody. I mean, I've got friends listening to this stuff and they're fascinated. They're like, and I feel even a little bit embarrassed because I'm like, I have one of my good girlfriends. She's like, I had no idea that all this was going on behind the scenes and you were just so sold out. And I got my buttons pushed a little bit and I was like, okay, well, she's right. I did sell it to everybody around me. I did walk and talk, and I was an ambot. And I'm embarrassed to say that. I actually never sold anybody anything that I didn't like myself. Amway does have some great products. They do. There's a few things that I really love and will probably miss. But
LOC. Do they still have LOC?
Yeah. Yeah, I still got some. I mean, this stuff lasts forever. You know, I mean, so there's a level of that that's like, I'm embarrassed because I did tell all my friends and family it was the best stuff out there and it's the best business in the world and all this different stuff, right? And I'm having to own that now. Why'd you leave if it's all that in a bag of chips? I'm having to own that now, and I'm having to be honest with people, and it's okay. I can do it. It feels good to get it out. It's cleansing and all these different things to realize that it wasn't what I thought it was. A lot of things came to light over the years. I was in for a really long time, you know, so.
And people understand, more and more people are understanding, you know, with, I know Betting on Zero about Herbalife was a documentary a while ago, but most recently Lula Rich has really got through to a lot of people where they understand, you know, they might think, well, it's just a product. They might not really get the full depth of MLM, but they have, like, you know, they know you. And I know, like in my community, I felt the same thing. I'm like, I've got nothing to lose. I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off this thing and I'm just going to own it, you know? And I was so blown away how understanding people were. And it was just another layer of how I was made to feel that everybody's going to just judge you and hate you. And you can't, it was never articulated. But then I've come to see that everybody feels that way. You think it's going to be so brutal. Nobody's going to understand. But most people do understand. Or they're willing to be like, oh yeah, I had a friend that was in this and they said they had all this money, but come to, you know, they start to see the parallels and the similarities, and it's not as bad. It's not as bad as you think it's going to be, you know?
Yeah. And I found that too, that when I started talking to people and, you know, ripping the Band-Aid off, and some people were like, what? Wow, you guys have always, I mean, every Christmas present everybody got was from Amway. It was just, this is what we did, you know? And a lot of people love the products. And I had girlfriends that love the makeup and love the skincare. Like I said, some of this is good stuff, you know? But I've also realized since I've gotten out that I think I even have developed, and I'm going to work through it, but a little bit of like social anxiety almost to get around crowds, to get around, because I was conditioned to, you haven't got that name today? Well, you better go down to 7-Eleven tonight and get a name. You know, I mean, we were just taught that you go out and prospect every day. You don't go let a day go by without getting a name. Go put yourself in crowds. Go put yourself in places where there's families and couples where you can meet sharp people. All this stuff, you know. But now it's like, I find myself, I don't want to be around people. I'm really working through that because I'm actually a really outgoing person. I'm not typically an introvert, but this business has kind of turned me into an introvert because there's wounds here and there's trauma from this. And that's just a fact. There's some trauma from this, from being told for so long, you need to do this. And I told my husband, I said, I'm so glad I can have a genuine conversation with someone and tell them I actually like their shoes because I do, and not just because I want to get their damn name. So I can call them later and go have a meet and greet. That's what Worldwide called them. You'd have a meet and greet 1 and then a meet and greet 2 and all these different things to get someone going through the process, and then ultimately you get them to a plan after that where they meet your upline, and then they're in. All these little things they teach you. Don't tell them it's Amway right up front. Why? I told my husband, I said, I can't do that. I cannot do that. I never did it for 30 years, Julie. I was always the one going against the grain. I was the one that when we'd have these meetings with people, strangers that you'd meet, I told them straight out, look, this is an Amway business. This is what it's done for us. If this is something that we can help you with, we were always really genuine. And maybe that's why we never made it very big, because I just didn't have what it took to manipulate people. I hated that. Let's not tell. Wait till they get to the board plan, then drop the A-bomb on them. It's like, what the? I remember sitting in my seat squirming, like, here it comes. He's going to tell them it's Amway. What are they going to do?
They're going to run. You're like, oh, did you, was part of so it's interesting how you're describing the stages of, bringing somebody into Amway, even to get them into a meeting, of just, you going out, you need to prospect somebody at 7-Eleven or whatever. And it's like these things, they've infected every aspect of our lives. So then when you're out, it's like every day you go out, and it's like a grieving process too, because then you're like, oh my God, I used to come here to, 7-Eleven. And then it's like, it has this whole cascade of the whole to-do list of what you did and would repeatedly do, and everybody did for years on end. And it does take time to work through. And as soon as you get through that, there's going to be some other freaking thing that you encounter, like, oh my God, I remember this too. This reminds me of when I was it's part of the process. It still happens with me. I haven't been out, it'll be 4 years in December, and it's still happening. And I know there's people that have been out longer, and it still happens for them too. It's so helpful to talk about this, because I wasn't in Amway, but Amway it's like the only MLM that exists, because all other MLMs come from Amway. Amway is the genesis, the mothership. Yep. It's what we've all of the little offshoots, it's all because of Amway. And I just think for you to get out of that, the big one, the alien ship of them all, it's just good for you. Just congratulations on getting out.
Yeah, I try to watch every podcast, everything I can get my hands on of people like myself, because Amway it's weird. There's not a lot of, there's some, but there's not a lot of stuff out there, stories like mine. I guess it's because they're not talking about it, or they just want to put it behind them. I don't really know, but that's not how I roll. Because I've been through a lot in my life, and this is just another part of my story. It's another chapter that I'm going to close the book on. But, it's very true what you say, is that dealing with people now, because we were programmed for so long, and I struggled with that. I always struggled with prospecting people and having an agenda when you're out in public. And, I always thought that was weird. I was never very comfortable with it. It even got to the point where I told my husband, look, you do that. You're better than me. I'll register them. I'll do the computer part. I'll teach them how to sell some products, because I was pretty good at the artistry part of stuff. I'll do that, but I am never going to go get names and stuff. I just couldn't stand it. So, but you're told that if you don't do that, that you need to change. You're the problem. So listen to more CDs. CORE, which is change or remain employed. It's just all these acronyms for everything that they ever had. And, they had the 10 core steps, and every one of them was surrounded around personal use, use your products, listen to your audio, go to the functions. If you're not doing the 10 core steps, you're never going to make it. So you better be doing the 10 core steps. And you're right. It infiltrates your finances, your mental health. My children grew up with this. My heart breaks. You know how many times our kids said to us, Dad, we're going out to dinner tonight. Please don't prospect the waitress. Because that's what he would do. And I'd be jabbing him under the table. Just stop. Because can we just have dinner tonight? But no. Here's an opportunity to get a sharp name. She looks sharp. She's friendly. She's standing here for 30 seconds. We can have a conversation. Julie, I am so glad that's over.
Oh God, I know. Even that word sharp, that's something that I was taught too. I'm like, you look like I'm always looking for sharp individuals to join my organization.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you don't go talk to hillbillies. You don't talk to people who don't have teeth. You need to talk. In fact, go talk to your dentist. Go talk to your doctor. Go talk to your, you know, what, it's just how uncomfortable it all was. And how long were you in? You were in Monet, right?
Yeah, and I was also in a coaching cult. So it's like an MLM adjacent thing called rank makers. So I was doing both simultaneously. So it was rank makers that really made me, like, accelerated me waking up from what all this was.
And how long were you involved in all that?
5 years.
Okay.
So, yeah, not like 30 years, but
yeah, but 5 years is a long time.
It's years of my life that I regret and I'll never get back. And I resent it. I regret it. If I could go back in time, I would choose something different. I would not go down that path at all. I hate everything about it. I didn't need to learn any of this shit. I wish I hadn't. I wish I never had a cell phone. I wish it never happened at all. Am I going to take what I learned from it, make the best that I can? Okay, yeah, but I'm certainly not happy and grateful that it happened to me. Not at all.
I love it. You know what? I feel the same way. It's like, I think that's just a recovery mission for yourself, because for us anyway, you look at yourself and you go, I spent 30 years in this bullshit. It's like, if you don't find something good that you can take away from it and kind of, okay, we'll settle here, you're not going to feel too good about yourself. So my husband and I too, we're doing that. Like, okay, hey, we learned how to have a better marriage in some areas. We did. They did teach some good things. We learned how to, be a better mom and dad in some areas. And we did. There were some things that we can go, okay, because they do have some good values that they teach in the business. Yeah. Family values, I would say. It's all wrapped up into this crap. Yeah. But you have to, it's like you say, you have to take what's good of it and leave with that and know, okay, the fact is, I don't know how, but we stayed married for 30 years through this, because there were times, Julie, oh man, the Amway fights were bad. I mean, they were bad because, my husband was like, we're not going to go on that trip because we're supposed to delay our gratification. We're not going to do this because we're supposed to delay our gratification. Well, of course they don't want you spending money on anything, because if you do, or you get distracted over here with anything, a trip, buying a home, investing in something else, your money isn't going into Worldwide or Amway, right? It's so basic common sense now that I'm out of it to see that. But I was the one fighting and saying, oh, no, my kids are going to go to Disneyland. My kids are going to SeaWorld. My kids are going on a cruise. My kids are going to all these places we took them, and we took them everywhere. And once my husband got there, he's like, oh, I'm so glad you did this. And I said, look, they're only young once, and I didn't have a childhood, and my kids are going to have a childhood. And so I thank God that even though Upline was saying you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do this, counsel before you take a vacation, counsel Upline before you do anything for the first time, all that bullshit. And I said, I'm not counseling with anybody about whether I want to take a vacation. I'm going. So we would fight, Julie, we would fight, but we worked our way through it. And I think luckily my husband has enough love and respect for me that he's starting to say things to me now like, thank God you saw things I didn't see. Thank God you pushed through. Thank God you took our family on trips. Thank God you booked those cruises and whatever we did. Because, I'm in my 50s now, and this thing took my whole effing life. Yeah. And I am glad I can look back and say, well, I still had some fun in there. Still threw some,
And this just occurred to me too, is that celebrating those achievements of pushing back against Amway, even when you were still in it, I think should have equal, if not more weight than the lessons that are like the good that's wrapped up in the abuse and the control, because that's pretty profound that you were able to, you went against the grain at many points in this, even though you were in for decades. Yeah. You would tell people that it was Amway. You knew damn well that you weren't supposed to do it, but you did it. You still, like, you were both of you were still there, like who you are aside from Amway, even though with all this time spent in it, all these trainings, doing all this shit that you're supposed to do, you still push back. And then you made these arrangements to go on trips, even though like counsel upline, trying to control every flipping part of your life. I think those should also be celebrated. I just thought of that right now. What do you think about that?
Wow. Thanks for saying that. I never really thought of it that way, but I can think back about a lot of things I pushed back on. I mean, I even remember, you're going to laugh. I remember times when I'd be like, I'm bored of this artistry skincare crap. I'm going to go buy something else. And I'm going to put it in the artistry jar. And my husband's not even going to know it. This is the stuff I did. I'm like, I'm done. I was checking out of this years ago. I'm not saying I did it with everything, but there was a few things like, oh, I want to try that new Estee Lauder. Or what? I mean, I'm just throwing a name out there. It could have been anything, right? But I'm like, buying, just like I'm getting tired of even the products after this long. It's like, I wonder what it's like to buy something different. I wonder what it's like to use a different product. And my husband would be like, you can't bring that brand X product in here. That's not supporting our business. No. I'm like, well, I just did. What was he going to do? He wasn't doing the shopping. He got over it. But it was stuff like that. It was taking the vacations. It was, I mean, I remember when we were really young, because I got this in my 20s. So I mean, it's still my whole youth, it feels like. And I remember when we were really broke way back in the day, they would tell you, sell your car to get to a function. Don't miss the function. Sell your mattress, sell your couch, have a yard sale. And I told my husband, I'm never doing that. I'm not going to disrupt my home to get to a stupid Amway meeting. It's not happening. So find another way. So he'd go out, because we're self-employed. He's always been self-employed. He'd go out and, make the money. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So there were always areas where I pushed back, and he just didn't really have a choice. I'm a pretty strong Irish redhead. He just didn't really, I mean, I'm not saying I pushed him around. My husband's amazing, but he just needed me. I'll just say that. He needed me to take a little bit of the helm in some of this, because bless his heart, he was so naive to some of this because of the way they love bombed his masculinity. He just thought the sun rose and shined on their butt cracks. It was like these people could do nothing wrong in his mind. And now he's starting to see, wait a second, my upline that I thought was my 30-year friend just called my wife an imposter. I think there's something wrong here. So what can I say? This has just been a real journey. I mean,
it's only beginning.
There's so much more I could say, but thanks for what you've said, because a couple things you said have really helped me. Just identifying the shame stuff and identifying the pushback. I really never thought of me pushing back was actually winning. It was actually something in my psyche was saying this isn't right. So I was acting out, even though my mind, I was still involved in the business, but I was pushing back, and I really never saw it till you just said that to me. And that really helped me. Thank you. Yeah.
Do you have any last words that you'd like to share about anything?
Yeah, it's like you said, after we hang up, I'll be like, probably think of 1,000 things I could say. But I think the biggest thing is, if something feels off, find out why. Like, there's a reason things feel off. If you're being prospected, or if you're going through this process of getting involved in this business or trying to get out of this business, get away from your upline long enough. Get away from the system. Stop going to the meetings. Stop listening to the audio. Just remove yourself long enough and set yourself aside long enough to let your own brain come back. Because one of the biggest things they always taught was, don't use your brain, use our brain. Put our brain in your brain until you get free. Oh yeah. Put our brain in your brain until you get the job done. When you're a diamond, you can get your brain back. You can start thinking for yourself again. And I remember them saying that, and I'd be like, I'm not doing that. So that is huge. Like, no, these people are not God. These people are not gods. They want you for a purpose. They have a reason they want you in the business. They make money off of you. You are just a number. And pay attention to those weird feelings you're having, because I think probably every person that's been in an MLM can look back and go, I had the ick. I just wasn't, they just made me believe I was the problem, that my ick was because I'd never been in a business like this, and I'd never been self-employed, and I didn't really know what that meant. I was learning. They make you think you're the ick, your ick's your problem. So I would just say that pay attention to what you're saying, what you're hearing them say to you, and how that's making you feel, and dig on the internet. We are so blessed. You know, when I got in the business, we didn't have an internet. We just had to go by what they told us. I had no place to go research anything. Now we do. Now we have a place we can research and find some stuff out. So I guess we could leave it at that.